no matter how big or petty it is. Story 1. Adults own their mistakes and take the lead in reconciling when they cause an argument. I shouldn't be the only person who initiates apologies after an argument, especially when you were the one who was wrong. It would be nice if you could get over yourself enough to be the first one to try mending bridges instead of waiting for me to apologize for getting frustrated that I had to defend myself. It's normal to argue, but expecting the person you wronged to always start the healing process is unreasonable. Story 2. Oh, we talk and communicate all the time. Sort of a weird desire, but it's tempered in reality. It would be really cool if my wife could hear my voice. She's never heard it. She's been completely deaf since age 6. She remembers her family's voices. But of course, meeting new people she wouldn't be able to. Story 3. I have 2. 1. Answer the question I ask you, not your interpretation of the question or why you think I am asking it. When you are wrong, say you are sorry. It means more than you know. Story 4. I'm a physically imposing guy, nearly 6'5" and fit. My wife tells me often how safe she feels with me. I do anything to protect her. What I want to tell her, but can't seem to, is that she makes me feel safe. I work with a lot of egomaniacal surgeons in an operating room environment, and they can be abusive, sometimes cruel. 1 or 2 of these times I remembered I was seeing my wife for lunch, and I got choked up with emotion because of the comfort she provides me. She knows how happy I am to see her, but not how weak I can feel. Story 5. Can I have one day where you acknowledge that both of us are tired and in some form of pain without dismissing mine but wanting me to acknowledge yours? Story 6. That I love her so much and given the circumstances, I am still open to reconciling. I know it will take work and will not be easy, but I know it will be worth it. Story 7. You do not want a dog. You want a stuffed animal that moves. Overall, she is wonderful, but pet care is not a strength. At least she acknowledges it, and I get to pick the next one to be as low maintenance as possible, or at least quiet. I can handle the rest. Story 8. You don't actually want a kid. You're bored and wanting a change. You don't realize it, but you'll absolutely loathe being a mother. It requires you to be open with strangers and interact. You can't be the hermit you are if you have a kid. You'll be forced to interact with other adults and kids. While yes, I've said this in some vein and you argue against it, I still feel you're wrong as you'll offer alternatives like moving to a different state and so on. If you are hell-bent on wanting a kid, there would be no other alternative you'd consider, in my opinion. Story 9. I wish you could stop leaving your projects and dishes lying around everywhere. Even if the dishwasher is empty, you still leave the dishes on top of it rather than in it 6 times out of 10. I know you're not healthy, and I love you like crazy, and I don't expect perfection. But when you not only don't help, but actively create more burdens for me to take care of, it doesn't require more energy to put a dish inside the dishwasher than it takes to place it on top of it. Balancing it with all the rest, it does kind of hurt a little bit. Story 10. I saw my grandpa being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and dying of it. The worst thing is not the diapers or not being able to walk. It is not being able to talk and even communicate in other forms. You're just there, can't move anything in your body, and cannot even tell your carers a small thank you or tell your kids you love them. Now her father has been diagnosed, and I can't tell her to cherish even more every second she can get to communicate with him, because soon it will be gone. I can't tell her because if she knows what's waiting for both of them, she won't be able to actually enjoy the time she gets with her father. Story 11. It feels like she wants me to be an extension of her when it comes to making decisions, rather than being my own person. I can either blindly follow you or I can actively participate, which means disagreeing with you sometimes. And if you expect to get your way 80% of the time when we disagree, that does not incentivize me to voice my opinion. But then I'm not planning enough and we're back to square one. You don't get to have both. You can't have an active partner and a mindless drone. Story 12. Nothing I haven't told her. But could you stop being so lazy? Your attention deficit disorder isn't an excuse. We both have attention deficit disorder. Screw the cap back on the pill bottle instead of just placing it on top of the bottle. Put your dishes in the sink instead of next to it. Take the 2 seconds to stack your dishes nicely instead of balancing a plate on top of a water glass because you didn't feel like moving the glass. Clean up your trash when you cook something to eat. It bugs the absolute frustration out of me sometimes. Story 13. You have been in therapy, on various antidepressants and other mental health medications, and have seen multiple therapists and psychologists for over a decade. We moved across the state during one of the worst housing markets, tripling our housing costs, but it does not seem like any of it has helped. You are still frequently very depressed to the point where you had to quit a job because the long commute was tempting you to drive off a bridge or something equivalent as in, oops, it was an accident, I died. Despite me begging you to get tested for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder for years, you refused until recently, and it turns out you do in fact have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But you are not on any medication for it, so what was the point? If we had not moved, I would easily make enough now for you to spend an entire month in inpatient treatment if needed, and our kids are old enough to stay at home for the small time between school and when I get off from work. We would have been able to use the housing price boom to refinance our mortgage and pay off all or most of our credit card debt at a low interest rate. But here we are instead. It would utterly break her if I did say that. Story 14. I know it's a weekend tradition, but I'm really tired of getting Starbucks on the weekends. I'll get you coffee anytime you want, even from Starbucks, but I'm just tired of getting one for myself. Story 15. I am genuinely concerned that your health habits will leave me widowed relatively young. I am not trying to criticize you when I bring these up. I just want you to be healthier. Story 16. I wish you played on your phone less. I get wanting to unwind, but I love doing stuff together. I feel bad for being tired when she is home and more awake when she is not. In actuality, it is because she is such a comfort to me that I am relaxed and do not have issues sleeping like I do when she is gone. Story 17. There's more than half the empty bed on your side, and I am sleeping on the edge. Can you please give me some space so that I don't fall off in the middle of the night? Story 18. Do you find it necessary to never finish a food item and leave the crumbs or last bits in the cabinet or fridge? Just finish it. Does it make you feel better because you didn't finish the entire bag of chips? Story 19. I wish you saw yourself the way I see you. In a room of 100 people, you are better in almost every way than 98 of them. I mean, I am awesome and I am also in the room, so carry yourself like you are awesome because you are. Story 20. Only a finite amount of tasks and activities can fit within a finite amount of time. Your inability to gauge this is what makes us late for things, not my failure to do X or Y, which takes 30 seconds maximum. Story 21. All your uncles are high-octane assholes. Some aunts too. Loud, trashy, dishonest, ignorant. Her mother is completely different, and she raised her kids differently too. They are also very religious. Her relatives form a close-knit group, but boy, are they insufferable. I think she secretly agrees with me, but she loves her family anyways. Actually, one of them is so toxic that he is now shunned by the others. Story 22. Take more than 1 nanosecond to dry your hands after washing them. Your wet hands upset me, and I've told you this countless times. Why is this so hard? Story 23. There are other people in the store who want to get by. You don't need to park the cart in the middle of the aisle to look at something. Pull the cart over. Story 24. Please don't dump the pasta into the sauce. I like to plate them separately and control my own sauce and noodle ratio. Makes me think of the crappy spaghetti from school. I know I'm unusual, but she's seen how I like it when I prepare the dish. Story 25. You are a hoarder, just like your mother was. You use your anger to control people. You take out your frustrations on anyone who cannot easily walk away from you. Story 26. You are just awful in bed. Sex with you is a chore. You are really in the bottom 5 of the worst partners I have ever had. When you are not having libido issues because of your several medical problems or prudish nature, you are so unadventurous and closed off that I would rather resort to pornography than deal with you being angry at your own inability to figure yourself out. Story 27. What do you do all day? Nothing in the house seems to change or get picked up. Why am I working a 9-hour workday and then cooking dinner? Why do we always have to discuss it 30 minutes before dinner time? Story 28. You have been rejecting my sexual advances for years. You have trained me not to be open and honest with you about my desires. Me wanting sex from you, my wife, shouldn't be a problem. Story 29. Your mother is a total nuisance. Stop taking advice from her. By the way, her mother likes me, but she has a grade 10 education, never worked outside the house, and believes every conspiracy theory presented to her. Story 30. Stop moving my tweezers and nail clippers around the house. You never put them back where you found them. I'm trying to keep them in one place so I don't lose them. Story 31. Love, that perfume your mom bought you from France smells horrible. She loves it. She acts like a child at Christmas whenever she pulls it out. I can't bear to tell her I hate it. I can't wait for her to run out. Story 32. She really has room for improvement in makeup skills. I appreciate it when she does, and that's very rare, like 5 times a year. But when she does, it always comes off as not better than barefaced. I have been meaning to tell her, but haven't found a nicer way to. Story 33. You are a hoarder, and this needs to stop. She started looking through our country's equivalent of Craigslist to save some money when we had a kid. But now she is picking up so much stuff we don't need nor have room for. Story 34. Your phone is not part of your left hand, and you're a medical professional to boot. Put the phone down and interact with the people there with you, such as your spouse and kids, instead of wondering what Taylor Swift had for an afternoon snack today. Story 35. Wife, please learn to remember to put things back where you got them. I have purchased 9 pairs of scissors, 3-pack at Costco 3 times, over the years, and when I need a pair of scissors, they are nowhere to be found. Story 36. As a man, we have to listen to the woman nag and complain every day. If I were to give my wife the same amount of negative feedback I receive, we would be divorced. I feel like I am constantly working on myself, and my wife is my wife. From what I understand, this is not a unique circumstance. This is just kind of how society works. I do not really know how to present this frustration to my wife since her group would just validate her as being in the right. But yes, this is frustrating for guys. Story 37. 90% of the problem is in your head. We have a small house. It's not hard to clean. We have 1 child who only has 1 extracurricular activity. Your part-time job still allows you to have time to get things done. Story 38. You took 30 years from me. I loved you with everything I had. You left me when your Asperger's defined you. But I met someone who showed me what love was supposed to be. Story 39. Just because you are small and pretty and a woman doesn't mean you aren't abusive. Just because I've done terrible things that are abusive doesn't mean you can't be abusive also. Someone who has been abused can also be an abuser. Story 40. There is no prize for stressing out about the most things, not even a gift card. Oh my God. Can you ask me a question either before or after you go making a racket looking for the right utensil and not during? Story 41. Well, I'm divorced. But what I would have told her is that she never listens, and everything following this would be completely ignored because she would then get into defensive mode. I would tell her she never listens and she is unwilling to make compromises. She is the reason that there's a loss of intimacy in our relationship. She is the one who turned us into roommates. Story 42. Please, for the love of God, just tell me what you want to eat. When I say I am wrecked, tell me to go to bed. When I say I am going to bed for an hour, don't give me that look. Story 43. Sometimes, when I come home from work, I just want silence outside of the music playing in the earbuds that I am listening to or the television show I am watching. It helps me center myself after particularly difficult days of dealing with my students. It is nothing with you or anything in the house. If you decide to either sit in my lap or snuggle up with me while this is going on, it would feel even better and help with the centering process. I am 6 feet 2 inches to her 5 feet 1 inch. Story 44. Please, for the love of God, just really think about what you want to order before you order, then just eat your food. Please don't ask for any of mine. Story 45. Get better time management. I'm tired of you making me late, especially when that is one of the few things that triggers my anxiety. And please don't wait until the last minute if you need something from the store, and then get mad when I don't bring precisely what you want when I have about 30 seconds in the store to get it. Story 46. Hey, hey, I love you with all my heart, but why do I have to constantly pick up all the random mugs from under the sofa, next to the study table, next to the bed, under the work table? Sometimes when I want to make my coffee, we run out of mugs and I have to dig one out from under the sofa, all moldy from the unfinished tea and 5-day-old tea bag. Story 47. If I felt like I couldn't tell my wife something, I would be questioning the relationship. Sometimes it sucks, but being honest with your life partner is probably the easiest way to continue with the relationship. Story 48. It's so unbelievably baffling how all the stories are so similar to my experience with my wife. From not walking straight, to not apologizing, to not closing the kitchen cabinets and so on. But also on the bigger side, to not being responsible, not initiating, not paying attention, not accepting my tiredness and stress. It's so similar to my life. Story 49. I found the jar of pickled onions you hid in the salad drawer in the fridge. Can't honestly tell her that now since I polished the last of them off before we went on holiday.